Evening, everybody. This is the Opinion Guy. I am Charles I. Guarria, broadcasting just minutes away from the world's most famous beach, Daytona Beach in Daytona Beach, Florida. And this evening, it is Monday night news night, and we've got the greatest news crew on the planet this evening, conservative Michael Voss and libertarian Joe Hannoush. But before we get started, covering a potpourri of topics, let you know what's going on the rest of the week. Tuesday night is our baseball show. On Wednesday, I have the Volusia County, that's the Daytona Beach area. Daytona Beach is in with Volusia County. The Volusia County Democratic Party chairperson, Nicholas Sakhnovsky, is coming on the show, 7 p.m. I pre-recorded a show this afternoon. This is actually my second show for Thursday night. Daytona Beach is celebrating its 150th year of being incorporated. So we're going to do a monthly feature on the show with a couple of historians and business owners that know history like as if they were historians. And we're starting out with the origins of Bike Week. So stick around for that on Thursday evening. Friday, I will be off. And Saturday, I have the artist who made this really cool logo right here. The Bearded Hippie Wizard is coming on. I met him in a Dublin airport. We started talking. He's from Florida, and we started BSing. Next thing you know, I'm asking him about the book cover, and he's like, "I'll do your book cover." And of course, my book is still not out, but it will be one day. My second book. And then, when I needed a logo, I reached out to him, and he said yes. And that's the logo right there. And he's going to come on and talk about his art on what did I say? Friday, Saturday? I forget the stuff. That's why I have an Excel for it. Saturday, he's coming on at 11 a.m. Matinee on Saturday. All righty, folks. That's coming up. But right now, we're going to cover the news. So without further ado, I bring to you Michael Voss and Joe Hannoush. Hello, guys. What's happening?
Hello.
Hey. It's always good to be back with everybody.
I love
Crazy weather. Crazy weather in the Northeast.
Oh man, what's going on? So I know you got tons of snow. I check on Northport because I have a family up that way, and they were maxing out at 8. But what did you guys get?
About 9.5, 10 inches. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
That's for New York, for New York City in particular. That's not a lot, and across the country, across the state, it's not a lot.
Right.
This was just a regular snowstorm. I don't know why everyone's freaking out.
So I was watching your show last night. No soundbites allowed, and you had said that the snowplows were kind of slow in coming. I want to say that you had like 2 over a 3-hour period, if I remember correctly. So how'd that go overnight, and what was today like as far as the plowing under the Mamdani regime?
Oh, they finally got their act together, and they finally started getting the plows out after it was done. But the thing is, it was great for Sunday night going into Monday, and throughout today, they've been pretty regular. The problem is all Sunday, that's morning until the late evening, the roads were hazardous. It was a public health hazard.
Yeah.
And that's not normal.
Yeah.
They normally have the plows out far more often. We had about 2 inches of snow that was unplowed at any given point from roughly about 7, 8 a.m. until about 5 in the afternoon. That's an entire day of unsafe conditions for everyone.
Yeah.
Problem.
Another thing that I know from, I worked downtown for 7 years and in Brooklyn for downtown Manhattan for 7 years and in Brooklyn for 15. And a lot of people who lived in the 5 boroughs, I always lived on Long Island, but a lot of people who lived in the 5 boroughs would complain that the streets where, the wealthy live were getting more attention than the streets were middle class and below. Is that now? This is Mamdani's first chance, but man of the people, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna think more of the 9 to 5er, more or less. Did he make an effort to make sure that everybody was being plowed equally? Like, was it still the same injustice? Like, what was that all about? Have you heard anything yet? Has anything come out? I know it's only been 24 hours.
It's standard. I mean, the same standard pattern of clearing the roads. Major roads get done first. Secondary roads get done second. I'm in the Bronx, so we're not one of the primary areas, even though I live on US 1. US 1 is Boston Road. It literally goes from Boston down to DC.
Yeah.
And that's when I say 2 inches, I mean on US 1. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Mandami, he did go out to a couple of pre-planned locations with news crews and his team, his media team, to get a couple of photo ops of him shoveling one car in one place and one car in another part, one in Queens, one in Brooklyn. Those are photo ops.
Yeah.
Not substantive. And he's like, see, I get out and I'm here. I'm one of the people. I'm going to help some people.
Right.
Yeah. Where's the regular people across New York who just were out and about their day, and suddenly, hey, the mayor showed up and helped me out of nowhere in the Bronx, in Midtown Manhattan, all across the city, in Staten Island. Where was he there? He wasn't. Why? Because it was a photo op. It was planned.
Right.
It was not real.
Yep. I hear you. Now, actually, US 1, Mike, goes all the way down to here. It goes all the way down the West Coast, right into Joe's neighborhood. I'm actually just a few minutes away from US 1. So, Joe, what's going on with you these days? In the last week, what's happened with you?
Oh, what happened with me? I've just been doing Libertarian Party stuff. I've been trying to help Libertarian candidates. I've been trying to move my own campaign forward. I don't know if I mentioned it on here before or not, but I have filed for state representative. If you see my kind of background here, I'm kind of covering it, but it does say Joe Hannoush for state representative. So yeah, filed for that. I'm still working on getting my website active, but I made like a new pinned tweet and a pinned post on Facebook and Instagram and whatever, and it has like just like basic policy stuff there. So that's basically what I've been focused on, is Libertarian Party stuff in my campaign. So.
All right. All righty. Looks like we lost.
No, I'm here.
Hey. Oh, cool. Okay, great. All righty.
I was right here. I was here the whole time.
All right.
I didn't have to deal with any snow. I just, my problem, I actually went for a run yesterday and it was hot. Like it was like 75 degrees and the sun was out and I was sweating. Like
global warming will take care of that for you. As we have been told and promised by AOC, there's only about 4 years left, and then Florida is going to be flooded.
Yeah.
Wow.
New York's going to be flooded. Actually, we were supposed to be flooded by 2000. I think it was 2010. According to Al Gore, New York City is actually underwater right now. It's complete science fiction, according to Al Gore and the environmental scientists, that New York City, the ice caps have already melted, and the coastline of the United States, East Coast, West Coast, California doesn't exist. New York State, we are all actually living somewhere around Binghamton, New York, because everything else flooded, and it's just science fiction. Logan's Run.
I moved to Denver. I live in Denver now, the Mile High City. So there's no water around there.
Yeah, it's just a lie. It's all water world because, climate science, because they've only been wrong. Every single prediction has been wrong since 1958.
Yeah, I'll throw one thing at you. I'm sure you guys know this, but just in case some folks out there and listening don't know this, we are actually in an ice age. And ice ages last for 3 million years. And within each ice age, there's roughly 11,000 years where the Earth heats up. And guess what, folks? This isn't the first ice age we've ever had. And the Earth is heating up. And you know what it's going to do eventually? Cool down. And one day, my opinion, one day, let's make it 400 years from now, whatever it may be, people are going to laugh at folks who think global warming is real, just like we laugh at folks who think the Earth was flat. That is going to be how stupid it looks for those people who believe in global warming. Let me say this again. We're in an ice age. And within every ice age, there are 11,000 years where the Earth heats up. And if you think I'm making that up, just go to the NOAA website. It says it right on there. And I happen to know that the state of Utah's geological site, I might have that slightly wrong, they also mention it. So it's not just something I made up or heard on some whack job show. it is actually the facts from the United States government. But for some reason, they don't want to tell you that. So there you go. Enjoy
the science. And the science has said that the entire planet has seasons like our local areas do. And those seasons can take millions of years. The planet, since its history, has had it's been a global desert about 22 times. It has been a global ice ball 11 times. And everything else in between is various phases going towards one of those two extremes. Absolutely. Nothing, human beings aren't necessary. There was more carbon dioxide in the air during the time of the dinosaurs than there is now, and the planet was fine. Everyone, all the predictions that the climatologists tell you is a lie. It is a political agenda, and that's the science, not the headlines in the newspapers, who are also biased. No, this is the science fact. People just don't read the actual papers, and they don't study the history, and that's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Ruben checking in. I love it, Ruben. How are you? You guys are going deep tonight. Absolutely. No doubt about that. Pizza in Daytona.
Oh, I love pizza in Daytona. That sounds good. Ruben knows. Ruben does the pizza reviews.
You do? Oh man, I gotta get you on as my food guy. I'm saying this every week. Ruben, just DM me. Let's get this conversation started so we can get you on. Just hit me up on Facebook or something, so we can get going. We should do a food show, man. No doubt about it. We're actually gonna go out pretty soon. There's a Chicago pizza place. Yeah, I think it's in Port Orange, and we're gonna hit that pretty soon. Have you been there, Joe? The Chicago pizza place?
No, what is it? Gumbos or something?
I don't know the name of it, but I heard about it and I want to go check it out. We were in Chicago about 2-3 years ago, long story short, and we didn't have the best Chicago pizza ever. I've been in Chicago like 3 times. So I want to go back and make up for it. So when I heard of this place over here in Port Orange, I'm like, we got to go. I need to get some good Chicago pizza. So we'll see if it's any good. But yeah, you can find decent pizza around here, but nothing like New York, of course.
A buddy of mine is, he's from Chicago, and he loves pizza. He's a pizza like aficionado or whatever. And there's a place in Orlando he took me to one time, and I forget exactly what it's called. It's like DiGiano's or something. I don't know, but it's like it's like a nice pizza joint, and it was awesome pizza. Like it was amazing. That pepperoni sausage pizza. It was perfect. It was great. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Orlando, the place in Epcot and you go to the Italian section of Epcot, the place that sells the pizza there, it's outstanding. We had it this past fall, and it was like, man, this is great. This is awesome stuff. So you can find it. Here we go. Hold on. Chicago pizza warms up like a block of. Oh, I thought he knew the. I thought he knew the name. Not a fan.
But at the end, Giordano's. Ruben's got it. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. All right. Yeah. All righty. Cool. All right. So climate change to pizza. All right. I absolutely love like all the ways the show goes. It's so cool. And when we're going to this show is like war. You throw out the plan as soon as it starts.
All right,
okay, well, we are going to start. Well, we started already, but next on the list is the dumbest news item of the week. Is it Iceland or Greenland? What does it matter? So I kind of got spurred on by an article in on MSNBC, MS Now.
Well, there's your first problem right there. That's the first mistake.
Yeah. And they were complaining. So it was under the Rachel Maddow blog.
Second problem right there. We were identifying all the problems right at the beginning. Okay, go on.
Exactly. And so and the person who's writing it wasn't her, so I guess she hires people or whatever. They write underneath her banner. And he was complaining more about the response from the White House, but it got me thinking. And so I posted on my site. I'm just going to read to you guys what I posted about this and my feelings. I'm not a Trump fan, right? I'm not a Trump supporter, but knocking him because he said Iceland instead of Greenland, It's petty. The man is 79 years old. 79-year-olds do things like that. And I put up this. This was actually a GIF, but here's the still of it. You got to be realistic. And I had that up underneath, and he just keeps saying it over and over again, right? So that was on my Facebook page. And a guy who I really like. I've interviewed him before here in the Daytona Beach area. And we actually talked business, thought about getting into a venture that he's doing. And he responded, I don't have to be realistic. You should expect more from an elected official. We should have the best America has to offer as a president. Making excuses due to his age or if somebody had a disability is just admitting we don't have it.
That's stupid.
So, do you guys think this is a big deal to begin with, or that he's misspoke? What do you guys think on that?
Okay, first of all, that's stupid. Every president at some point in their 4 years or 8 years, and often and several times within there, will mispronounce or misstate a country, a world leader, a business. It happens. We're all human beings, whether that's a typo on the teleprompter or just because they flub it, because it happens. Newscasters flub things, politicians flub things, human beings talking flub the words. It happens. And the more off the cuff you might be at any given moment, the more likely it will be. And we do know that Donald Trump talks off the cuff, off the teleprompter, more than some of the most recent presidents.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about Obama. That man is brilliant when he's on a teleprompter, and he is a bumbling idiot when he's talking off the cuff. And even in his teleprompt speeches, there are typos and mistakes, and he says them. So anyone who doesn't realize that and says, well, all of our presidents should be, 150 IQ and they should be in the peak of human health, running around like the Flash or Superman, you're stupid. That's stupid. That's just TDS. That's Trump derangement syndrome. That is a unfair and unrealistic bias justifying a pre-existing set of feelings because they can't cope with the reality that actually exists. That's my point on that.
Yeah. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I agree with Michael as far as like in yourself, Charles. You both said this, and I think we all three of us agree. Not only is it a certain age, but really any point, like when you're a president, every word you say is telegraphed everywhere for 8 years. So Trump is like 5 years in. Of course, he's gonna like say something wrong or just use a different term you didn't really intend to. I do that all the time. But I will say this, knowing President Trump, the way he talks, I wouldn't put it past him that he did it intentionally. Just to kind of, take a jab at someone or try to trigger
trolling Europe or something.
Yeah, whatever. So I think it's either way. It's like, of course it happens either way. So yeah, I don't think it's a big deal at all. When the news is worried about that, we have no other problems going on, and we do. So I think news people need to probably refocus instead of spending time on.
Dude, they've got a quota of anti-Trump things they have to say per hour.
Probably.
And sometimes they need filler to get that quota for each hour on MSNBC.
And to be fair to them, you're right. They're on 24/7. They also have to have some filler stuff going on, and they're gonna have like.
Well, I'm not talking about
slip in.
I'm not talking about news media got to fill the hour. I'm talking about anti-Trump quota. They have a percentile of about 89 to 92%, depending which source you look at, of negative Trump comments every single hour of every day that Trump has been in office, and also during the Biden term. But since his current 47th presidency, they have literally had about 92% of all the references to Donald Trump are in some way negative, no matter what degree. They have to attack him.
No, and those folks, the news agencies or the people, whatever, that are doing 90% of just negative Trump no matter what, like as a quota almost, they're either playing to their base, their customers, or that's just the way they are. So either way, I wouldn't even pay them much attention, or I would expect it. So it's all, I don't watch that stuff anyways.
Yeah, I go there every morning. I have a round of stuff that I hit, including Mike's show. It's part of my my morning viewing. And so I go to MSNBC.com and I will watch Morning Joe. Morning Joe, and before Trump, Morning Joe was pretty good, but Joe Scarborough lost his mind when Trump came on, Mm-hmm. It's just, but I like to listen. I like to get it from the horse's mouth. I like to hear it, straight from them. So I will go on there. But I mean, I just checked now, and it's like 3 of the 4 stories on the top fold of the website are all about Trump. I mean, they just don't stop. He is great content for them. That is,
not really. Sure. Go ahead, Joe.
I want to make a quick point here. We are in the age of AI, where AI is getting better and better and better. And to that point, like really, especially this past year, I've always been wondering: is Trump actually making these on Truth Social? Is he actually making those posts, or is it like fake? And finally, for the first time that I'm aware of, there was a fake AI generated post of his that went viral, and people got upset about it. They retweeted it, whatever, and it wasn't his. It wasn't actually real. And that's the first I've heard of that, honestly. So
that means that someone on his team got lazy. Every politician, every federal level politician, and many of the bigger cities like the mayor and such, they have a team of communications experts, or maybe not experts, but individuals. That's part of their campaign that come on in, and they actually are the ones who handle many of the interactions. Occasionally, you'll get the real person, but usually it's someone in communications on the team that actually handles that. And probably someone young, a junior intern or something, used AI because young people can't write. They're not creative. And so they used an AI instead of doing it themselves. And it was obvious and got called out. I'm not surprised. But to mention the news, the tried and true idea of anti-Trump every hour, every day, all the time isn't working. CNN has abysmal ratings. So does MS Now. Matter of fact, they were so bad. Not only did both companies fire a whole slew of their news teams, MS Now got kicked off of NBC and got thrown to the dirt because no one cares. No one's paying attention to them because CBS, they got this new guy, Tony Ducapoli. He admitted first day he was on the job, said, you know what? CBS has been lying. CBS has been partisan. They have a political agenda that they have been doing to abuse you, to make you vote Democrat. I'm going to try and do, and Tony says he's going to try and balance the playing field, go back to being neutral. They admit this is all about their personal feelings and their personal politics, and that's why their ratings are dirt, and they deserve it.
And people are also leaving mainstream media and that kind of traditional corporate media for places like this and your show and Larry's show and all the way on down the line, like Joe Rogan, and that's really killing them too. Because if you look at the demographics, I think one of the 3 major ones, and they're definitely skewing older, so that they're losing that too. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has. MSNBC is getting hit really hard, like you said. And to Rachel Maddow's credit, she did take a $5 million pay cut to help out. I think around the same time that all those people will let go.
She's making $20 million a year. She used to make 25. I'm sorry, I'd cut her no slack whatsoever. She's not, and the woman is not anywhere near the idea. She's not even in the close same universe as poverty. She hasn't. I don't. No, that's her.
I did not know she made that much money. That's insane.
I know, that's a sick amount of money.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mind you, she was making $25 million to do one show a month.
One show. I'm doing 5 shows a week.
I thought she was on every day.
No. Her show was on every day. She was on once a month.
That's crazy.
Mano was on every day for a while, though, right? I mean, there was a time when she was on every day. Because I
Oh,
used
yeah.
to, like maybe 10 years ago, I'm thinking about where I was living when I would see that. And that was a good 15 years ago.
That was before she was pulling 25 million a year.
Yeah.
Back
Did
when
I
she
cut
was
you off?
making like $500,000 a year. Yeah, she showed up every day and she worked. Then she got a bunch of zombies watching her, and she made 25 million and said, screw it, I don't need to be here. She was right.
Yeah. And Joe, did I cut you off? Were you going to say something?
Well, actually, you didn't cut me off, but I do want to say one last thing that's just kind of lingering in my head.
Sure.
I want to call this now publicly, because I know it's probably coming out in the future. I think Barron Trump, Trump's son, is the one behind the social media. Something, either the White House, the social media account, or Trump, or somebody. He's doing something on an official social media account, and I think it's going to come out later on, but I'm calling it right now.
I like that idea. That makes it makes sense from the standpoint of a Trump in a circle and people that he really trusts. Who's he going to trust more than his kids? I mean, you can see how tight he is with his kids. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Getting back to the Greenland, Iceland, mistake. I want to pose. I'm going to turn the screw on this a little bit more. Ask you guys. Is Trump too old to be a leader of the world's empire? We're an empire. There's a lot of responsibility with being the leader, the president of America, because you are so. I mean, it's just not what's happening. It's not like being the president, the prime minister of Britain, or like what is it, the president of France? You're not Macron.
That is Macron.
Yeah, you're not really affecting the world like you do, of course, in the United States. If we voted for people that were younger, there'd be less Biden and Trump missteps, because younger people generally don't do those things. They do them. I do them. Everybody does them, but it'd be less often. And I'm wondering, how do you guys feel of either or neither a means test to be president or an age limit to be president? And Joe, well, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, and I apologize for looking out places, because I don't know if you could hear over by you in where you're at, Charles, but like the wind is howling outside right now. But anyway, what was the question? Sorry.
Trade-off for not having snow. You get hurricanes. Okay, but
there's a tornado right now.
Limit. Okay,
but the question's age limit for presidents.
Right.
Age limit. Well, you got three choices. Hold on. You got should there be a means test? Just a flat out age limit, like no means test, but if you're past a certain age, you're not in, no matter what. Or neither. Should we just keep it the way it is? And then what do you think and why?
I say no to the first two. I don't think there should be a means test, because who decides that? And I don't want someone deciding what the prerequisites are for who could be president, because then if you get a biased choice in there, like, oh, no one who believes that, I'm just naming an issue here, that abortion is right, could be president. You're instantly getting rid of half the people. So I would have to say no on that, because who would be making that rule, that criteria? Number two, the age limit. I'd probably actually vote in favor of that if it came to the ballot. But philosophically, I think no, because I think Trump, relatively speaking, for his age, is still pretty sharp, mentally. So I wouldn't want to say, no, you can't be president. He's probably more sharper than I am. Not probably, he is more sharper than I am, and I'm half his age. So, or like a little bit more than half his age, but still, like it doesn't seem right to me to make an arbitrary determination on that. And I do want to say one other thing. Within the context of the Constitution, which of course you all know already, I always have with me here, within the confines of the Constitution, the president shouldn't have as much power as we perceive the president to have today. So if that's the case, the president wouldn't be in this, like, the most important person in the world. We would have a strong Congress, and we would have a strong checks and balance on the court system. And we would have a vice president ready to come in any minute. So with all that being said, I would say no to all of those. But again, I'm going to be a hypocrite here. If there was something that came up on the ballot to cap the age at, like, say 75 or something, then you can't be older than that to be president, I'd probably vote in favor of it.
All right. Well, it does sound. Why? Why would you say?
Because
Why would you vote no, but think it's okay? Like
we've seen Biden have obvious issues, and we've seen it sometimes with Trump. Not he's not anywhere near close to the point where he can't be president anymore. But I did feel that way with Biden. I felt like there was a point where he should not be president anymore.
Yes.
So just as a general kind of, and I know some 75-year-olds and 80-year-olds, and they're nice people. A lot of them are still very, very sharp, but generally speaking, they're not as sharp as they used to be.
Yeah, and Mike, before you go, I just want to say that you could be sharp, when you're retired, hanging out and playing golf and stuff like that. When you're the leader of the free world and trying to negotiate peace between Ukraine and Russia, it's a whole different ball of wax. So when people say, that gentleman who I had that discussion with on Facebook said, his grandfather was 100 years old and it was sharp as a tack. And I was thinking, I didn't respond. After a while, it just died out. And there's no animosity. I still think the guy's great. But I was thinking to myself, yeah, but he's probably hanging on his couch watching TV and just having fun with his grandkids. He's not, flying over to Davos, and actually 2 jets, because the first one had to be returned after an hour, and then trying to give a speech. I mean, come on, it's like so different. So how do you feel about it, Mike?
Well, we have to first of all break through the false equivalence that being slower due to your age in terms of your physicality is equivalent to being slower in your mentality. And the president is a job dealing with mentality, not physicality. Doesn't matter how long it takes them to give a speech or how far they have to travel. It's the substance of what they're saying and the deals that they're capable of making. And in terms of, and let's think about it, look at people who are half Trump's age or thereabouts. You got your Ilhan Omars, you've got your Joy Reids, you've got your AOCs. These are blatant idiots. Blatant, absolute idiots. We've got an entire generation growing up. They can't write a sentence. They got to go to college with Grammarly because they don't know how to write. They don't understand. 6th grade English is beyond our graduates. This is embarrassing. This is bad for the world. And so, yeah, that's not a limiting factor. But specifically to the questions that you asked, we already have a filter to knock out someone who's too old or is feeble-minded or is not qualified to be president. It's called the voting electorate. That's it. The public already is everything there. We don't need some law for that, which is arbitrary. And Joe is correct. It will be corrupted and it will be abused. The answer is we have the American public. And the American public, when they pay attention to the details and when they're not being led by the nose by the news media, who should be telling you the truth or giving you enough information for you to make a informed decision, are instead shielding their guy and demonizing the one they don't like. Thus, we didn't know that in 2019, Joe Biden was started to have his mental lapses, which were apparent, and I did call out back in 2019 and in 2020. And then we find out after Biden is gone, now we find out that his entire staff knew for a fact, and many of the leading Democrats knew for a fact on the day of the inauguration at the latest that Joe Biden was a part-time zombie and could not do the job that he was elected to do. Now, that's the media bias. That's the media having a partisan point participation. But if you were paying attention from the beginning in 2019, the elements of all of this were available. Most people just didn't pay attention to the details. They listened to Rachel Maddow say, he's great. They listened to people like Bill Martin, who said, don't worry about the Me Too movement, even if Joe Biden did sexually assault a woman, you got to vote for him anyway because Orange Man bad. Literally, he said that May 20th, 2020. He literally said, doesn't matter if he did a sexual assault, you got to vote for him anyway. Also, Bill Maher, 2018, I believe it was June 2018, said he wants a recession so that you will not vote for Donald Trump. He wants people to have economic pain and suffering, the common people, but so that they will vote Democrat. This is the extremes that these people will go to because they have a feeling, and you have to have the feeling they have. You have to obey what they think and they feel because you don't count. That's how we get Mandami with the big government. Government solves everything. Government's the reason we have the problems. And in particular, socialist government is why we have so many problems. But that's my point of view on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, government's the root of a lot of problems. 100%.
I agree 100% with that as well.
Absolutely. Yep. All righty. So listen, guys, we are 35 minutes into the show, and we have already covered the Iceland-Greenland kerfuffle. We've hit on should there be a means test for the president. We've hit on climate change. We are covering everything all around the world. And of course, the most important topic that we hit on was pizza. And Ruben is back. And he says that pizza is round like the earth. That's in regards to Chicago pizza. And Tomasta McPasta says that Corleone's in Daytona on White is delicious.
They are good.
Tom, do you know where that is?
Yeah, it's off White Street.
Off of White Street.
Yeah, you meant on White Street. Yeah, it's off White Street. White Street in Derbyshire, I think, right?
Oh, okay. All right. I got you. Yeah. All right. So Tomasa McPasta, his first name is Tom, and he is the owner of the world's most famous brewery on Main Street in Daytona. And he's going to be on my Thursday night show when we talk about Daytona's 150th anniversary. We pre-recorded that this afternoon, and it came out fantastic. All righty. Up and done. It's on White and Dunn.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
So if you're in the neighborhood, go to White and Dunn and check Corleone's. If you come down, you're one of the 10 million people who visit this county, come on down and make sure you go to Corleone's. And now that I did that, Corleone's better hit me up for a little advertisement fee. And I'm just kidding. All right. That's awesome. Thanks, Tom, for that. All righty, guys, I got another news item here I want to bring up. And the basic is Rand Paul and his quest to have Anthony Fauci be brought to trial. And I was watching Reason. Let me share this. I'm sorry. I clicked on it without sharing. Let me share a little clip. And let's break this down for folks. So hold on 1 second. Let me bring up. Here it is. So this is a show on Reason called Free Media, and they were discussing Rand Paul's appearance recently on Joe Rogan. Okay, and let's just kick this off and see what Mr. Paul has to say, the senator from Kentucky.
So we have, under the Biden administration, I sent criminal referrals for Anthony Fauci to Merrick Garland twice, and I sent them evidence that he had lied to Congress, which was a felony. They just ignored me. I've been working with Bobby Kennedy, and he's been very helpful on this. I have a good relationship with him. He's given us a lot of information, and we've looked at communications. And in Anthony Fauci's communications, we now have evidence that he was telling people like Francis Collins, read this and destroy it.
Plenty of evidence of wrongdoing, but
sorry about that, folks. So what he's saying there, this Collins guy that he is referring to was the director of National Institute of Health from August 2009 to December of 2021. So basically what Fauci is being accused of by Rand Paul is that he read documents, handed them off to the director of the National Institute of Health, said, you read them and you destroy them so nobody can see them, which of course is against the law. So let's continue on. I did unfortunately hit rewind, so let me just bring it back up to where we'll just play a little piece of that again, just to make sure we don't miss anything. Give me 1 second. And where are we? Right here.
DOJ just won't proceed.
Anybody's ever been pardoned.
Yeah, and I think it should be challenged. And so we have, under the Biden administration, I sent criminal. a felony. They just ignored me.
All right, we'll go from here.
I've been working with Bobby Kennedy, and he's been very helpful on this. I have good relationship with him. He's given us a lot of information, and we've looked at the communications. And in Anthony Fauci's communications, we now have evidence that he was telling people like Francis Collins, read this and destroy it. Well, you can't do that. The executive branch, when they communicate, they're required to keep their communications, and they're required to do it on government devices. So we have this evidence, and I've summarized it again in a criminal referral to Trump's attorney general, and I still haven't gotten action. But there's a couple reasons we should do it. One, he shouldn't get away with lying. He shouldn't get away with destroying records. But two, we should check the pardon. Is an auto pen pardon valid?
All right, we'll stop it right there. Is an auto pen pardon valid? Now, here's the deal with that. Everybody knows what an auto pen is, and the question here is bringing it to if they were to pursue what his ultimate goal. All right, first let me ask you guys this question: is an auto pen valid? And Michael, we're going to start with you.
Okay. Well, some people actually don't know what we mean by the auto pen.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah, go ahead. Sure.
An auto pen, many presidents now, it's been used for a couple of decades, is a system to duplicate the signature of a president or any individual for that matter. But we use it in government because there are so many dozens of various things, executive orders, bills, which become laws, but other minor memos and such, which require the president's signature. And so rather than have the president sit there for 3 days out of every week just signing documents, instead we have an auto pen. It automatically matches that signature. It is legal. Now, it is not legal because there's a law that says it's legal. It's legal because it's never been challenged in court. It is known and it is assumed to take place. This is not something that is unknown or a surprise. It didn't start with Biden. We've been doing this for decades. You got auto pens of Clinton and Reagan and even Nixon. This has happened to every president, no matter which side they're on, and going back decades upon decades. This is not new. Yes, the auto pen. The question isn't, is this signature system legal? It is. It is binding. Absolutely. The question is, was Joe Biden mentally capable of making the decision to sign that or not? Did he willfully know what was his signature was being used on? And that's the question, his mental competency at the time that signature was used. And that's the question. We know Biden was a part-time zombie president. We have no idea because none of the major news media ever asked at the beginning or at any point, Joe Biden, you're only mentally capable of having meetings and discussions as a president for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. Who's in charge of America at any other point? We don't know. They never asked. We never found out. And therefore, were those auto pens, those documents signed, were they discussed with Joe Biden in those 6 hours? Did he authorize it? Did he know what it said and what it would be the consequences of it? I would say just by the sheer number of hours that Joe Biden was incapable of being president, no, he didn't. Therefore, those documents are invalid and therefore they should be removed. The problem is we don't know how far back we have to go. I would say at the day of the inauguration, others would say in the last year, somewhere in between there. The answer is everything after that moment is not valid. Not that we can do anything about it because it's moot at this point because it already happened. Right. But some people should be held accountable, thrown in jail. Absolutely.
Okay. And Joe, what do you think? Is the auto pen signature a valid signature? And it's particularly in this case with Fauci.
I believe the auto pen is valid if the president in this case intentionally says yes to this. So if they authorize it and they auto pen it, then yes, it's valid because the intent is there. I'm going to disagree a little bit with Michael here on the incapacitation of the the president, we have a means to remove a president if we feel like they are incapable of doing the job. That was not
25th Amendment.
exercised during President Biden's term. So therefore, he is able to make whatever decisions he wants unless we remove him from doing so. So
All right, Joe,
I would.
can I challenge you on that? Because you're mentioning the 25th Amendment, which requires Congress to take an action, which with the Democrats in charge, they would never do. It's political suicide. But beyond that, you just said the president has to know. My challenge is he didn't know. He had no way of being capable of knowing, and therefore it should not be legal. How can you disagree with that?
I hate to use this line, but I think it's valid here. That's your opinion. Like
No.
that is like I said. I'm going by the Constitution here, and again, there's a way to remove the president if the people in charge feel like whether they're Democrats or Republicans, whether you agree with them or not, they are the ones that decide. We elected them to make a decision to remove the president if this circumstance happened. Do I think it happened? I agree with you. Yes, he should not have been president for at least the last year of his presidency. But did the Congress exercise their constitutional right to remove him? No. So therefore, whatever decisions he did make, which is using the auto pen in this example, it's valid.
Okay, so let me go ahead, Mike.
No, I just fundamentally disagree with that. Just because I'm trying to think of an example of it. Just because there isn't an explicit law that says, just because it isn't, the law wasn't activated, doesn't mean it's not a crime. If I rob a bank, but I don't immediately, and people know about it, but they don't throw me in jail for it, I still robbed the bank. It's still a crime. You may say, well, it's moot because you didn't get punished for it. Okay, that's an argument, but it's still a crime. The fact that people, because of their bias, their corruption, their political ambition, didn't act on what was a crime doesn't mean it's not a crime.
Okay, so let's use your analogy there, the bank robbing analogy. So if the bank robber never gets prosecuted, never gets charged, never gets punished, whatever, did the money not get stolen? No,
yes.
The bank robber stole the money. He did the act. The act happened. The money has been stolen. Same thing with auto pen. The president was now removed, but he took the money. He made
No, that's still a crime.
I'm not saying it's not.
Auto pen signed it. It's still a crime.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it doesn't make the thing not happen. The thing happened. The bank got robbed. The money was stolen.
Yeah.
The auto pen was used and it's valid.
No, that doesn't make it valid. See, that's where you lose me.
Okay.
When you say, therefore it's valid. No, it's not. It's still a crime. It's not valid.
Okay.
I agree with you right up until those two words. It's valid. It's not. We agree.
So, Michael, you feel that Rand Paul is like barking up the wrong tree. No, I'm sorry, Michael. You feel like Rand Paul is onto something here. Joe, you feel like he's kind of barking up the wrong tree because Congress never acted. It's basically. I mean, he wouldn't have.
I get where Rand Paul is coming from. I don't agree with him in this case. I usually agree with him, but not in this case. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. Maybe Michael is correct. Maybe Senator Rand Paul is correct here. Maybe I'm wrong. But in my brain, the math doesn't math. Simple as that.
Mike, do you think Rand Paul should continue down this road? Merrick Garland, kind of blew him off, and so far, the Trump administration is blowing him off. Is this a worthwhile endeavor, or is let bygones be bygones and let Fauci run free because he got a 10-year pardon for every crime he could have possibly ever committed? If you just want to summarize what the pardon is.
And let me just interject before Michael gets a chance to speak here. Yeah. I agree. Fauci should be held accountable for what he did. He should not have gotten a blank pardon. That amounts to a qualified immunity, which I'm very much against. Okay. I think people should be, whether they're in government or not, you should be held accountable for what you did. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
No, I agree with that point that you can't pardon. You really shouldn't be able to pardon someone before they've been accused of a crime. You're admitting that there was a crime. In effect, you've admitted there was a crime, and you're now trying to protect them from that crime. And thus you're trying to deny to the public, no, it never happened. Why? They'll run around and say, oh, well, he never got charged with anything. That's because he got a pardon.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he didn't do something wrong. I think that he is correct in following up on Fauci. I do not believe the pardon was valid in the broadness of what it is, and in the face of a lack of charges, because and the reason why they made it so broad is to catch everything, and that smacks of corruption. I think he's right to bring that up. That isn't really an issue that needs the president at this point. That's something that Congress can do and should be doing, because they failed to do it in the past. So I do agree with him on that end.
Well, yeah, especially the line to Congress part. I mean, the Congress should just, if you lie to Congress, it really isn't the president's problem per se. It's really Congress to rectify that wrong. Just to put it on record here, the full pardon, it's a full and unconditional pardon for offenses. This is where you read it and you go, it's what you just said, Michael. You read this and you go, Biden's like covering, or Biden or whomever is covering for crimes. They're kind of saying Fauci did something without kind of saying Fauci did something, and they're going to make sure that he can never be charged for it. Is the way I read this when I had read it in the past. So basically, a full and unconditional pardon for any offenses against the United States which he may have committed or taken part in during that period of January 2014 through the date of this pardon, which was January 2019, the year he left office, which I'm already getting confused. That's 2020, right? And so, that was 2 years ago, right? So through 24, it's a 10-year pardon. And that just on the face of it is like, well, why do you have to do that? Like, what? That he may have committed or taken part in. So it's kind of like saying well, you're basically saying he may have committed. Like it's like they're covering for something because they know something's there. That's the way that reads to me.
He was breaking laws for 10 years in a row. Yeah. And when he's on the edge of being caught and therefore being punished, and more importantly, the American people will be made aware of the level of corruption that was allowed to exist in the government, and protected by various individuals. I don't know. Some of them must be Republicans throughout that time period. Many of them were Democrats, apparently. That would shake the ground of our government and hopefully knock loose a bunch of criminals, and we'd correct the system. But rather than do that, and rather hold him accountable, and to maintain the lie of the Biden-Harris administration and Democrats being accountable and doing a good job for the public, they protected this man. We need to shake the tree, get the people who are corrupt out of the system, to fix the loopholes, and to restore the confidence of the American people in our government.
Yeah, I think so. It's basically for any of the service that he had during that time, and it names, the pardon itself names all the different jobs that he held, including being a COVID-19 response team, on the COVID-19 response team, or as the chief medical advisor to the president. And we have to note that's both Biden and Trump. He worked for both of them. And in both cases, if you notice this, in both cases, he was front and center with Trump in the early going, and then Trump kind of pushed him back. And then when Biden won the election, Biden made him front and center. And then all of a sudden, Biden started pushing him back too. I don't know if people picked up on that or not, but in both cases, both presidents kind of pushed him to the side because Fauci's an idiot. Fauci is not good for the president. It doesn't make him look good. I actually think that, well, anyway, I did want to say that before I go on to that personal thought, it's all about, it's about destroying evidence that Rand Paul said in that clip there. And it's also gain of function, which we didn't get to in the clip, but it's gain of function. And Rand Paul's been on that really since, it seems like since COVID started. He's been accusing Fauci of that, and Fauci plays loophole games anytime he's in front of the Senate, as far as that's concerned.
No, he perjured himself. He did, in fact, perjure himself. Yeah, those were some of the documents that he was trying to destroy. Many of them were subpoenaed, which, like with Hillary, Subpoenas don't really mean that much if you're a high-ranking Democrat, but subpoenas do matter. And he did destroy evidence. But we do know he did lie. He perjured himself while he was in the Senate committee meetings, hearings. He lied to the public. He did lie under oath. He committed perjury. He should be punished for that.
And you're talking about when he was answering the questions to Rand Paul about the gain of function. Yeah.
Amongst others, yes.
So Rand Paul also goes on to say what he's looking for the Supreme Court to do is to take up the case to see if the pardon's too wide. He talks about narrowing it. So let's do that.
And is a pardon a retrospective pardon back 10 years that doesn't mention a crime? Can you give people a pardon for everything they did in 10-year period? I can't imagine, and I think the court might narrow that, but it doesn't happen unless the Trump Justice Department will do something. And I've been sending them referrals, and I can't get them to do anything.
You might be thinking.
All right. Yeah, so that's it right there. He basically covers what we said there, that, to look into the pardon, try to narrow the pardon. I would love for that to happen. I think that Fauci did so many wrong things. One of the things that he did wrong as a bureaucrat, the thing about, I don't know if it's Fauci's personality per se, or just anybody who's in that position, because if you've been in government, you practice for that moment your whole life if you're in the jobs he had, right? And then when that moment came, it kind of was like he got to put his practice to real use. So I think it's a function of the positions that he held as much as it is a function of his personality. I will say that where he went totally wrong is when people would ask him, what should the American public do? Should they mask up? Should they see their family on Thanksgiving? He should have never gave advice as if it was rock solid. He should have said, I can't tell people what to do, but if it was me, I would do this, And then he was an unelected official was acting. Yeah, he's science. An unelected official was acting as if they were an elected official. And it was just so completely wrong. So yeah, I would love to see him put on trial. I think it would be great if there was some way to nullify this particular pardon, narrow it so that he does have to stand trial for gain of function or for destroying the documents or both. It's something that I think would put some closure, at least, if we can get to the bottom of that. All righty.
One thing I'd mention on that before we go further. Sure. Pardons were never meant to protect your life from everything you've ever done wrong. Pardons were meant to be specific to an issue or something that you had done where either the justice system overreacted or it was unfair in some way, unconstitutional or unfair, the punishment that you received for something that you did, or you were innocent. But it was specific. Okay, you were tried and you were thrown in jail for 30 years because you were convicted of murder. And now DNA says you never did it. You get a pardon. That's specific. But if you were a bank robber, you're not getting pardoned for being a bank robber. Mm-hmm. You still are a bank robber. You're just not the murderer that we thought you were. That's what a pardon's for. Specific, where justice system or other extenuating circumstances were wrong in some degree or form at the discretion of the president on federal charges. On state charges, it would be the governor. And that's what it's for. It's meant to be rare and very specific and very correcting of a wrong that has happened. Right. That's not what Fauci got.
Just really quick, I want to follow, tie up that knot there. I agree with Michael's point of the intent of the pardon. I do think it's not supposed to be just blanket full pardon for 10 years before and into future. Like I think he gave his son, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think this, for me, in my memory anyway, goes back to was it Ford who pardoned Nixon?
Yes.
He did, yes.
And the intent of that was so that America can move forward.
Right.
Nixon's not president anymore. We're moving past that now. We're not going to drag it through the courts for years, publicly, and just et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think since then, I've seen probably every president use the pardon to kind of be like, okay, let's just not have this go through media the way it has before. So let's give my son like Hunter Biden a pardon, just so that the next administration doesn't drag his name through the mud. Basically, make Democrats look bad, right? And just like it goes both ways, also. So I think the intention was with this is just so that no matter what he did, let's just cover everything here so that there's not this prolonged. I'm not saying I agree with it, by the way. Let me just make that very clear. I don't agree with that. Sure. But I'm just saying I think that's the intent. It's just like, let's get it behind us. Let's move forward. And yeah.
No, you're being very kind
I am.
in assigning a less nefarious purpose to this. And in the best case scenario, in the kindest way we could look at it, that would be the answer, except they haven't earned that. They haven't earned that trust. They haven't earned that benefit of the doubt. And it is unlikely that that's correct. No, this was about power and preserving power and giving the ability for the news media to turn a blind eye, just as they did with the laptop, until it cannot be hidden any longer, which will be years from now. And when it's moot at that point, they're going to, this was done for partisan political reasons, nothing less than that.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
No, I'm just going to keep going back and forth. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you deserve to have your banner across the bottom. You were about to say something, so let's let that thing roll. All right, folks. There you go. Folks, if you like what you hear, and please like, comment, and share. Get the word out. We are covering a vast array of things this evening, and it has been so awesome so far. And there's more awesomeness to come. But please like, comment, and share. If you care, you will like, comment, and share. And subscribe to become a part of the tribe. Because one of these days, somebody's going to start a fan club, and every subscriber will be on. So if you subscribe, become a part of the tribe. I really appreciate all that. And getting the word out about what we're doing. Let's see. Let's hit a comment here. Let me get that bad boy off the screen. We got a comment coming up here. Hal for New York. Let's see what we got from Hal. He may have pardoned Hunter because he's his son. Just spitballing. That is the reason, Hal. I would say yes.
Right, and I agree. I know being a little bit facetious there. Yes, of course, that's the thing we didn't really touch on. He did it because he's his son. But I think, who wouldn't do that? Like, I mean, think about it. If you were in Biden's shoes, would you not do that for your son? You would. I know I would. I'll fully admit that I would do that for my son. So
that's the only part that's understandable. And we all can say, if it was my father, my son, my daughter, my wife, my my kid, of course. I understand. But that isn't the only reason. That may be one of the reasons. I don't think it's primary, but I think it was part of it. Sure.
Yeah. I got to throw this out there because Mike, you had said what he was. There were many hours during the course of the day where Biden was not functioning at the level that a president should, and we don't know who it was. I got a theory on that. I think it's Jill. I think one of the reasons why Biden hung around so long was because Jill was making the decisions and she was drunk with the power. And as long as he could be put up there as the puppet, and she was the one making the decision. So I actually penned her down as an evil woman who kept him going just so she could be the one who was actually running the country. Thoughts on that?
Well, there were a lot of people surrounding Biden and the Biden administration that were abusing him. His son Hunter, his wife Jill, several, the Secretary of State, a couple of people were abusing, and Kamala Harris as well. At various points, they were abusing the power of the presidency for their own gain.
Yeah.
And we saw that Jill Biden, after it was made massively and unquestionably clear to the public that Joe Biden was incapable of doing the job, and still didn't get the 25th Amendment put upon him because of politics. Joe Biden was the one who was fighting, saying, no, Joe's got to He's still on the campaign trail. He's still going to be generating money. He's the top of the ticket because that was good for her. That was good for the family and the money that they were able to generate and how they could be able to have significance around the world. That wasn't because they were trying to protect Joe or America. So I think it was obvious. Yeah, a lot of people abused him. It was elder abuse. At the end, it was elder abuse, but that's after everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? You got a theory on that? You think it might be Joe or somebody else? Or who do you think was pulling the strings?
I think, as Michael said, I think it was a conglomeracy. It was, it was Kamala, it was Jill, it was, probably other people that were just kind of, hey, do this because we need to do this. And frankly, I don't think the president should make all the decisions for everything. I think you rely on these other people to give you advice. Frankly, including your wife. I mean, just being honest here, including your wife. So I don't mind when a spouse says, and by the way, every first lady, to my recollection, has had some political agenda, if you will. I don't mean to use a negative context, but they've done something. They pushed for something, right? Like Michelle Obama had the plates. Hillary Clinton had the was the healthcare, something with the healthcare. Anyway, Reagan, they all had something. Okay, so I'm not going to. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not someone that's going to say like, they're not allowed to have influence on their president husband or the vice president is not allowed to have influence. Of course they are. So
of course,
I'm okay with it.
Definitely, yeah. And Mike, you have a Civil War piece that you mentioned. Can you kind of set that up for us? And let's dive into a Civil War in the U.S.
Which one? There's been a couple.
Oh, I don't know. We were emailing before the show, and you had emailed something about a Civil war. I didn't know
that about Hochul.
Alaska, the Alaska National Guard.
Okay. No, that's Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that happened in the last week, which are potentially trying to incite race wars and or a civil war in America. I think that what's happening in Minnesota right now is there's one element of it. Let's step away from the shootings themselves. Right. Let's look at some of the reactions to those shootings. And I think given this environment, we're looking at the potential of a second civil war starting. That's because over the weekend, we saw that Tim Walz activated the Minnesota National Guard. A lot of people know that. Okay. What people forget is earlier in the week, President Trump activated the Alaskan National Guard. Now, that was a federal action as opposed to Minnesota state action. So we have federalized troops under the command of the president and abiding by and their goal is to protect federal law enforcement in Minnesota in doing their lawful job of mass deportation. You don't have to like it. That is the law. That's what they're doing. And on the other side, we have Tim Walz. Now, it seems that based on what Tim Walz has been saying, the Minnesota National Guard are being activated to arrest that same law enforcement, federal law enforcement in Minnesota, to help violate the federal law on immigration and mass deportations. They're there to be more partisan. When those two groups clash in Minnesota, what are the National Guard going to do? What seems to be brewing and what's going to come to a head is you will have Alaskan National Guard against Minnesota National Guard. One is supporting a state government, which is motivated also at the same time by politics. And then you have a federal organization. They're following the federal law and federal law enforcement, and they're clashing. That's how you start a civil war, especially in this climate where we have the news media ginning up as many people as they can to try and get a partisan reaction. That's a problem waiting to explode, and no one's talking about it. I think it's something we have to talk about.
So you think if they were standing, let's take a dramatic Hollywood scene, and they were standing like face to face, that one on the other side will actually pull a trigger on an American? Like, how would that actually escalate to a full blown, a hot battle?
Let me give you the scenario.
Firefight. Let's do a firefight.
Let me give you the scenario so visually, so we can understand it. Visualize it's a Mexican standoff. You have ICE agents that were in the process of trying to deport an illegal alien, which is in effect a criminal. Fine. That's what the law says. That's what they're doing. Now, in comes the Minnesota National Guard because Tim Walz said, no, we want to break the law and protect the illegal alien and allow them to stay in Minnesota. This is not about feelings. I don't care about feelings. That's what he's getting them to do. Okay. In comes the Alaska National Guard saying, no, we're protecting those lawful federal agents doing their lawful job. You can't touch them. At that point, there is a conflict and they have to take an action. It's not static. They don't just stand there, look at each other, because somebody has to do something. If the Minnesota backs down, that has a political and a social ramification. If the Minnesota's National Guard take an action, it has ramifications. Same thing for Alaska. If they step into this because Minnesota's trying to arrest the Border Patrol, that is a action. There is a consequence. No matter how you want to envision who acts first or last, this is something that, and we see the videos, we see slow motion, and there's a billion people trying to justify their particular point of view. Whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. And you mean to tell me you don't think there's going to be a huge backlash, especially amongst activists in various states, that's left and right? This is how you start a civil war. Tim Walz is building up a civil war, and it's based on politics. You may like them, you may think he's right, but this is how you start a civil war. And people aren't considering that and the consequence. And I think it's important that we do.
Okay. Joe, thoughts on that?
I agree with Michael. I think this is technically, and I believe legally, a civil war. This is two governments, in the United States going after each other, standoff or whatever. I believe that's how the first Civil War started. And someone might or might not fire first. Like Michael said, it's not static. Something is going to happen. They're not going to just stand there and stare at each other. I think that would be the best outcome, frankly. But we know that's not going to happen. Something is going to happen. There's going to be someone that hears a bullet, shoot somewhere else, and it was, ends up being nothing. And this is history. This is going to be in history books. So that's it. I mean, it's just like underlining Michael's point here. This could be the start of the Civil War, and I think we need to end it before it starts, because this could really get out of control. I really could see this spilling over to all 50 states. And this could be very bloody. This could be serious. This could be historically serious.
All right. I like the spilling over part. I was going to bring that up in a second, but I want to ask, I don't know if anybody knows. I mean, are they in transit? Are they just gearing up back in Alaska? Are they flying over as we speak? Does anybody know exactly what their position is right now?
The last clear evidence that I am aware of, according to Alaska News, this is being kept out of the national news media. The national news media are not talking about this. Yeah, Alaskan media are talking about this. There were some news reports about 6 hours ago where the Democrat senator was upset and saying, well, this shouldn't happen. The president shouldn't federalize the National Guard. That's a moot point. First of all, the Supreme Court says he can. That is within his power. He can do that. So that's not the argument that we really need to deal with here. Right. So they're trying to deal with everything else about, well, Trump's, the president is bad to nationalize the National Guard, and that's a problem. That's not the issue. So what we last knew about where the troops were, we know they have been activated. They are mobilized. We do know that the orders came out through the military, the army, that they were told that they are going to be prepared to go at a moment's notice to Minnesota. Many of these, it's about 1,500 troops, are military police. The last thing we know is they are on a base. They are prepared to go at a moment's notice. They're waiting for the final okay from the president. So theoretically, they could be in the air right now. We don't know. And sadly, the national news media that have direct contacts at the Army, I wish I had those contacts. At the moment, I don't. But nobody knows because the media doesn't want to ask the question because it could affect the way people vote. And it appears the national media are afraid it's going to hurt Democrats more than it would hurt Republicans. So they don't want to talk about this. I think we must, regardless of who.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great conversation. I'm glad you brought it up because the word should get out there. So once again, folks, share this. I am trying to find some things, but while I'm looking something up about the Alaska National Guard, Joe, you mentioned spillover, and I mean I could see a newbie who gets a little nervous because, like you said, they hear something and they think the other side's firing, and so they fire. Essentially, they fire first, and that could just escalate because then you got to defend yourself and the whole bits. But do you have a scenario where you think that could escalate too? And also, like, how does it become more than just what's happening in Minnesota? Like, I'll put this out there as a thesis. Isn't the populace settled enough and happy enough to not want to fight each other? So first, how do you see it spilling over? Second, aren't we content enough to not really want to start a hot war?
I'm using the playbook of the Civil War. The first, I can't believe I'm saying this. The first Civil War. Right. I think it was exactly what we said, and I said before that. No one knows who shot first, right? Someone just heard someone shoot something. They don't know what side it was, north or south, and then it just started. That just started the fighting, and they were at a standoff until then. So someone in some neighborhood, could be civilian, not even in uniform for any troop or anything, just decides to fire a shot like into the ground, and that starts everything. And all of a sudden, everyone on both sides start getting their guns and pointing it at each other, and someone might fire for real that time, and just escalates from there. And as far as like the next part of your question, how it escalates, I think you're gonna see some state governors like. We have about 50-50 Republican Democrat here. Some state governors will be, more or less, but some state governors will decide, I'm going to mobilize our national troops to go help in Minnesota. And then the other half will be like, we're going to mobilize our state national troops in Minnesota. And you're going to have, you could have literally 50 state militias, like all in Minnesota or somewhere else, just having a standoff. And you could have the federal government say, "Oh, well, we're bringing in the Army, the Navy, whatever." And again, I think the chances of this happening are extremely low, like maybe 1%, but it could happen.
Okay, wait. One thing, and Mike, you can actually answer this first. Now, I know that the National Guard could be called up by the governor to actually go help in an emergency situation like a hurricane in Texas or something like that. But Mike, are they allowed to, is it legal for, let's say, Hochul to decide to send the New York National Guard, pull them out of the subways where they're trying to solve crime, and send them over to Minnesota to help Tim Walz? Because that's a military action as opposed to, a FEMA type, we're going to help because of a natural disaster. So can they actually activate their own guards, send it to another state? Isn't there an interstate law against that, or
no? Not quite. No.
All right.
Now this, you have to look at each state's individual constitution,
Oh.
which may or may not have restrictions on how the National Guard can be called up and or restrictions on how the government can use them. But in general, and to my knowledge, for each state, if the National Guard can be called up in a time of emergency, they're very vague on that. No state truly defines that. because they don't know what they might need them for. What's an emergency? Who knows? So they have very loose definition of how they can call them up at the whim of a governor. Thus, you have New York State. We have National Guard troops in the subway system in New York. They can't arrest anyone. They can't enforce laws. They're just standing around to look important and intimidating to hopefully reduce crime, which has not happened. But that's an example of how they can use them. At the same time, it is possible, and we have seen this happen already, where a state, a governor, will say, I'm going to activate them and send them to another state. We've seen that in D.C. We saw that previously with some of the Texas troops being in D.C., as well as others. Florida troops were up there. And that's both for January 6th. That was also for, most recently, the reduction in crime in D.C. And so we can see that happen, and that can happen in any state. It is because the governor has the power over those National Guard troops. It is being used for an emergency. It's just that the limitation on them doesn't say it has to be in my state. It just says it's an emergency.
Amazing. Okay. And were you going to say something about the spillover as well?
Yeah, and spillover, you're right, Joe, about we could theoretically have upwards of or up to as many as 50 states sending a National Guard into Minnesota. I don't think that's what we see. I think you see that 1-2 states send their National Guard troops in on both sides, one side or the other. And then you see riots break out in LA, Chicago, Boston, New York, in Colorado, Boulder in Colorado, Portland, Seattle, Austin. I'm being very specific about the cities because those are the cities that are rioting, because the left always riots, and their riots are always violent. They are not protesters. They are violent criminals. They are actively violent right now in their criminality, and they will take that opportunity to then advance yet another riot, even more violence, because they believe, and I was saying this yesterday on my show, the left absolutely believe, the activists believe that as long as they are on what they think is the right side of history, they don't mind being on the wrong side of the grave. And that is how you get a second civil war.
And Michael, I'm gonna piggyback on your mentioning of riots in specific cities. I honestly wasn't even thinking about that when I was saying the 50 state militias would go to Minnesota. I think those riots in those major cities and different states would probably keep the militias, for the most part, in their own state, dealing with those. So this could, in a weird way, the protest could prevent a civil war in that scenario.
Possibly. So, it depends on how big it gets. I'm envisioning that, you got the conflict that starts up, both sides, then the left, because they are so violent, because they think they're so justified, because they don't care if their various members die, because they use that as motivation to get even more people to be even more violent. Then you see, LA as an example, it breaks out. They're not going to use the National Guard against their own people immediately. By the time they do, it's all out riots all over the place. And now we're talking about something that's going to sweep the entire state. Same thing in New York. It may start in New York City. It's going to sweep, or in Syracuse or in Rochester. They'll try and sweep the state. At that point, it becomes a free-for-all. And so I don't believe the National Guard. These are also states that are reluctant to use National Guard against the left. They don't want to stop the riots. They think the riots help them. They think with their base, it does. They make more money. The people who are socialist, progressive, Democratic Socialist America, they are hyped. They show up and vote. They give their money. It's everyone else that isn't. They won't send the National Guard troops against them. We had Portland had 120 days of nonstop rioting every single night for 120 days. They were burning down their own city, and they never called the National Guard on them. Yeah, they'll let the riots go. And by the time they decide we're going to stop this, we need to send in the National Guard, it's too late. That's my fear.
Okay. So, you brought up Hochul. Just to tie a knot before we move on, just to tie a knot on this Civil War and the Alaska National Guard. The only thing that I found was 11 hours ago. It's what you mentioned, Michael. The headline talks about the comment from the Alaska legislator saying that the government is out of control. And then the subtitle says that it's unconfirmed deployment of U.S. soldiers from Anchorage to Minnesota. But obviously, you don't have to be a Mensa student to know that if there's any sort of deployment, it's not like the National Guard is going to be screaming, here we come. So, yeah, it would be unconfirmed reports. But that's all I've seen. I would highly recommend people, keep an eye out for that and see where that goes. Hopefully,
look at the local newspapers. You got to look for the local.
Yeah.
It's not going to be covered by the national. They don't want to talk about it. You got to look at the local.
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah, exactly. I work for one of those local newspapers down here. There's a Civil War in Daytona Beach. I'm all over. Believe me. Turn me into like I can't think. There's a famous reporter from World War II. I can't think of who it was now. Darn it. Oh well. I'll have to look it up. So I kept you guys for an hour and a half. I do have interest in what Hochul lied to on a Martin Luther King Day. Hochul's lie. If you want to go down that road, I don't know if you guys got time for that. We could always do that some other time. But I am game for it. We're an hour and a half in, so you guys let me know.
I don't have a problem with it. In part because I kind of was covering it and broke a lot of the news on it.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with it, Joe?
Joe, you good to go?
All right. I haven't gotten a battery warning yet on my phone.
All right.
So I am good for a little while.
Okay, good. Yeah. Set this. I watched. I think I saw your whole segment on that. So the whole show, you did like an hour on that, hour and a half, something like that, right? On that night.
When I do a topic, it's usually about at least 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Yeah. Because I bring sources.
Yes. So lay it on us. What did Hochul do? It was pretty interesting story.
I think it's repugnant what she did. So on Martin Luther King's birthday, his celebration of his birthday, Kathy Hochul went to a black church and she gave a speech. That speech was targeted to incite racial tensions and to try and create a riot, I believe.
Hold on one second. Hold on. I'm sorry. 1 second. A lot of people might not know who Hochul is. So Kathy Hochul is the governor of New York. Just for folks who don't follow politics that closely, and just so folks know that. Okay, now.
Yeah. So the governor goes in. She's going to give a speech. She's giving the speech to a black audience in a black church on a black holiday. This is already racially tinged. Not that unusual. A lot of governors, a lot of politicians were doing that, but it is racially tinged. The speech she gives amps that up, and this is where it gets wrong. In her speech, she's, of course, demonizing law enforcement, both ICE and Border Patrol, which at this point, the news media and activists, they make them interchangeable. They're all ICE. All federal law enforcement at this point are ICE, whether it's the DHS, it's Border Patrol, immigration, doesn't matter. So she says, and brings up this story and says, ICE was so evil, they went into a factory in New York State, lined up everyone in the factory, black and brown people on one side, white people on the other. They let the white people walk away, and they took all of the black people, all of the brown people, put them in handcuffs and hauled them away, detained them all. Now, to be fair, there is a kernel of truth to what she said. What she didn't say to that audience was this happened back on September 5th of 2025. She didn't mention that. So she didn't give it a time frame, which made it seem in that speech that it happened that week, that it's something that just happened, and that Trump and the federal agencies were targeting people based on their color of skin, especially black people. And she made an emphasis, say they were targeting black people. Now, what's the truth? In upstate New York, after an 8-month investigation by the Department of Homeland Security, they came in with warrants. Department of Homeland Security, the IRS, Border Patrol, and ICE were all involved to go and raid a factory upstate New York. It was in Clay, New York, as I recall. And they walked in, and one of the things the investigation, 8 months long, found was that 134 of the employees were using fake Social Security numbers. That's out of a total of 224 employees at the factory. 134 out of 224 were using fake Social Security numbers. When I say fake, I mean stolen. They belong to other American citizens, or 22 of them were of dead American citizens. So there seems to be an immigration problem here. When they went in, and there is evidence from Spectrum News, from, I believe it was NBC, there was the several, and I have in my article on it, I have several sources, every single one of them left-leaning, internationally credible news agencies that did articles on all of the charges, all of the investigation that happened, which departments of the government were involved. And here's the thing. Spectrum News had the, was it Spectrum? Syracuse.com, that's right. Syracuse.com had the actual body cam video that they edited together. About 5 or 6 different cameras were edited together to give it the biggest leftist spin you could possibly imagine. Mm-hmm. We got to see everyone in there. And in that body cam video, the people were separated by citizenship first. And we had white, black, and brown. Actually, it was white and brown people. No black people seemed to be in the factory at all, according to the evidence we could see on the body cams. The Hispanics, some of them were American. They were with the other Americans who were also, and some of them were white, that were citizens. They were separated from a group of people who were clearly indigenous and presumably all from the same South American region. Mm-hmm. They don't speak English, many of them, and none of them had actual identification to prove that they were American citizens. In fact, they were admitting on camera that they were not American citizens. Those people who were lined up so it could be organized and not chaos, orderly lined up, they were each interviewed, asked to present any evidence of American citizenship. When they either directly or after interrogation, after questioning, said no, they were deported. That's not what Kathy Hochul said. That's not what was the reality reported by the left. So the only reason why Kathy Hochul said it that way, and by the way, no news agency said there was any black people involved. Only leftist activists said that, including Kathy Hochul. She was trying to start a riot. That's my opinion. The only reason why she would say that to black people in a black church on Martin Luther King's birthday. She wanted a race riot.
I want to say that I watched that, and at certain points I would stop the video and take a look that you were showing that evening. And there was one scene where a woman was reaching for something in her locker, and the ICE agent. I hope I'm right about that. It was an ICE agent who said you can't go in your locker. Border Patrol. I can't go in your locker. And the woman went in anyway. Like there was no force to stop her. And I actually freeze framed it. And the woman who was going into reaching into, she was smiling. Like there was like no pressure on them. There was no harassing of them. There was another scene on the body cam where a woman was in the bathroom and ostensibly holding the door or maybe locking the door so the Border Patrol could get in.
to be clear with that, there's two women. One woman was blocking the door, turned off the lights in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So if you tried to open the door, she was pushing back against it. Another woman was sitting, or at least we believe, turned out she was in a stall, sitting quietly in the dark while the other woman was blocking the door. Yeah, that's it. Go ahead.
So when they got in, the woman said, "I'm not done yet," and the mean Border Patrol guy goes, "Okay, well, just let me know when you're done," and they backed out, and that was it. Like there was, and then if you look at the other like wide angle ones, like you saw the room where they were being separated, they could have been having coffee together. Like it was like so mellow, the whole thing. So I don't know, Joe. I know you're hearing this for the first time, but what do you think? Like of a scene, like what do you think about this situation here?
It sounds like everyone was having a good time. You know? So I don't know what the problem was. I mean, honestly, if you know people want to work, I think let them work. If they want to get a Social Security card and pay FICA and all those other taxes when they don't have to because they're undocumented immigrants, okay, that's cool too. So yeah, I would like to get government out of it completely. That's really it.
I think you're missing everything. One, fraud. One of the first crimes, they're fraud. They're defrauding and they're abusing American citizens they were living American citizens. Social Security numbers were being used. So that's an abuse against people. That's a crime. I think crimes are important. Illegally entering into America is a crime. That should be something that should be abused. By the way, I also agree, punish the business for hiring 134 illegal aliens. We could hire Americans. That's a problem. Fine them. They are complicit in this as well. But at the same time, my bigger problem here isn't in this case, in what happened on Martin Luther King's birthday. This was misrepresented on purpose. Kathy Hochul knew about this event in September. She knew about the evidence that was reported by Spectrum News and others, Syracuse.com as well. She knew the evidence. She had spoken about it on local news, not national. So she knew she was wrong in everything she said on Martin Luther King's birthday to that Black audience. She knew she was lying. She knew she was wrong. She knew this was incendiary statements, that this could incite people towards violence and is definitely fear-mongering so that people will be terrified of law enforcement. And when people are terrified, they make stupid decisions. We've seen that already in Minnesota. And when people make stupid decisions, your opportunity to be killed increases exponentially. Kathy Hochul is vicious, evil, and she did it because now those people are going to vote Democrat because they were lied to and they're afraid of law enforcement. They're afraid of Republicans, MAGA, and Donald Trump. And that is evil. And she was never called out for that. Not one major news media called her out for that. So throw out the illegal alien issue. What she did was criminal, in my opinion.
Did it incite any riots or violence?
We don't know. How would you know?
I don't know. I don't know. That's what I was asking.
No, I understand. The point is, we don't know because, one, the news media isn't talking about this. They're not covering it. There could have been someone who walked right out of that room and decided and brushed up against a police officer and got into a fist fight with them. We don't know. They won't talk about it.
To get to the point I was trying to make, though, is I don't think that she was intentionally trying to incite a riot there. I don't see it, honestly. I don't know. You're looking at me like I'm strange, but like
that's the idea.
Yeah. Like I don't get it.
That's the whole idea of the show, difference of opinions. All right, I got to ask you this question though, because I don't know if I heard you right, Joe, or but you're okay if you were president of the United States and there were illegal immigrants who were using fake Social Security numbers. Would you say that's a good thing and we should look the other way, or would you say we need to deport those folks?
Well, first of all, I want to say this, and I know Michael's going to disagree with me on this big time, and I'm not sure about you, Charles, but I don't think there is such thing as illegal immigrants.
Yes, the hell there is.
Okay.
All right.
I know you disagree with me on that.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just go by the Constitution. Sorry.
It's in there too, by the way.
All right, Mike,
Article
you're going to get
2,
the talk on it, Mike. I
I
guarantee.
had that page ripped out. I'm sorry.
I'm going to shut up.
Okay, so if they're coming, I mean, obviously, people that are less enthusiastic about immigrants coming here and
Yes.
doing so legally, the major complaint about that is they come here to take money from the welfare system, right, without paying into it. Okay, so what these people are doing is literally at work, all of them, 100% of them are at work, and they are trying, even by fraud, and that's a whole other issue, but even they are trying to break another law just so they can pay taxes, pay into the system. Because they have to have that by Social Security, right? If they are working with the Social Security card, whether it's fraud or not, no?
Well, I see what you're saying.
Why would they have to pay taxes?
They're on the books. Working
Yeah, they're on
right?
the books, which means that the employer might pay some tax.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a small portion of the total taxes that we are not getting, because if they actually filed a tax reform,
I don't know.
they would be caught.
No, wait. But they are paying taxes because even if they have a fake Social Security number, the government clearly doesn't know that, and they're taking money out based on that Social Security number from that particular illegal immigrant. Even if the Social Security they're getting a paycheck, and there's going to be FICA charges in there.
Right.
So they are technically, giving to the government in that sense.
They're paying some of the taxes.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean,
sorry.
to get into balance with what the services and what they're getting.
Well, yeah, right.
Michael,
Out of the system more than they're putting in.
You can say that about anybody.
No,
literally
I can't.
anybody.
No, I
Whether
can't.
they're citizens, undocumented, illegal, whatever you want to call them, it's the same thing with everybody.
No, it's not.
A 5-year-old kid has a Social Security card, but they're not paying a dime in taxes at all. But their parents are getting a big deduction because they have a kid.
The kid also doesn't work 40 hours a week. He's 5.
That we know.
He's
of.
underage. So no.
Hey, I was working when I was 5.
Also have to pay more for that kid to live and to grow up to be an adult.
I get it, but Michael, come on now. You know those parents made a decision and they had a kid. They should be paying for having that kid, right?
They do.
Tell me you don't agree with me on that.
They do.
Exactly. So why am I subsidizing that for other people?
Okay. We're talking about now. You're changing the goalposts, but let's go with that. Should a parent pay for their child? They do. Do they pay more for their child than the benefit they get from the government? They do. So do I have a problem that they're getting back a small percentage of the total cost for that child? I don't have a problem with that. Not only because that's not a big deal, but also because at the moment, the birth rates in the United States are so low that they're unsustainable, which is another very different danger to the United States, our society, and our capabilities. But that's a separate issue. But no, I don't have a problem for a parent being responsible.
Let me. On the surface, I agree with the words you said. However, when you're saying it costs them more to have a kid, which I agree with you on, but getting some in return, that's from the taxpayers.
They get $6,000. They spend the cost of raising a child in America, just feeding a kid in America, is going to cost you somewhere around $12,000 to $35,000. Depends on how you do the calculation. Somewhere between $12,000 and $35,000. They're getting $6,000 back in taxes.
No, I'm paying for that though. I don't have any kids. I'm not claiming independence. So if someone else that has a kid is claiming dependency, that's coming out of my pocket. I'm paying for it, whether it's taxes or inflation.
Yes, it's part of your investment into this system that is America. Yeah, because someone did the same for you.
So are these immigrants not doing the same thing?
No, they're not doing the same thing. They are not doing the same thing at all. Because they do take the money, majority of them take at least 40%, the averages work out to about 40% of all the money that they're getting, if not more, is being taken out of the United States to go back to their home country.
And they have a right to do that. Just
No,
like
they
you
don't
have a right.
have a right to be in the United country in the first place.
Michael, you
They're
have a right to earn income.
Criminals do not have a right in America. Criminals do not have a right to profit off of their crime. Every state, that is a federal statute. Their crime is being in America in the first place. And anything they receive from that is a reward for their criminality, which they should not have by law. And to then take that money and send it to a foreign nation, which is not in the benefit of the United States, it does not help the American economy. It is taking money out of our system. And sure, it helps, third world nation. I don't care about the shithole that it may be. It may help them. It doesn't help us. So no. And the math has been done by people far smarter than me many, many times in multiple studies. And the net answer every single time is illegal aliens drain the system as a group more than they benefit. If you were to include all of the benefits of the illegal aliens working, every benefit you could possibly imagine, works out to about $115 billion, and they have a net negative impact on America, including that money that we get in of about $300 billion a year.
Just like 5-year-olds. I agree with you.
All right, Joe, last word, and I want to move on.
Yeah, just like 5-year-olds, just like I said. So these immigrants who are working, 5-year-old American citizens are not working. The 5-year-old citizen parents are getting a deduction, paying less in taxes that someone else is paying for. Meanwhile, those adult immigrants are paying into the system and trying to pay into the system. So these illegal immigrants are paying for the 5-year-old citizens, like putting food in their mouths.
Okay.
I know you said you're going to move on, so I'm going to let it move on. I'm just saying your math is illogical. It does not work. It is a great justification. I understand that is your feeling. I respect you can have that feeling. I will not deny that. You can argue that argument. I will not stop you from doing that you're an American citizen. But fundamentally, it is not correct what you're saying. It is fundamentally illogical. But you have every right to stand by that and to promote that. I have no problem with that.
All right. Well, I love the back and forth and where it goes. That's really awesome. That's what the show is all about. Joe has a supporter out there. It's Gabe Wozniak. See, Gabe, I got your last name right this time. For Florida State District number 8. It says, elect Joe Hannoush. That's a good idea. Gabe killed it the other night at Daytona Beach City Hall, got his name in the Daytona Beach News Journal, and unless it's edited out, he'll get his name in the hometown news as well. So it was a great job by him, some awesome quotes. Mike, Daytona Beach has all kinds of problems right now, and one of them was a last-minute sale on this property and then destroying an iconic building on Main Street. So it did not go through. I wish it got a little more national attention. You talk about reading the local papers, read us, read Hometown News, read Daytona Beach News Journal. That we're both covering it really well. Probably some others down here as well, but yeah, they got all kinds of gerrymandering issues. They have purchase card issues, and then this kind of people on boards, that citizens boards that should have known about this possible sale didn't know until they saw it on the agenda. So there's all this. And there's somebody running against the mayor for the first time in a while, so it's really kind of an interesting time and down here. But yeah,
Gabe did a fantastic job. He got on not only paper media, but he got on television media, and he's doing a great job running for office. I'm going to be with him at Sunshine Park. Gabe can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but Sunshine Mall on Wednesday. He's going to be there from 10 till 2 p.m. So if you want to go meet him there, he'll be over there. I'll be there for part of the session. And he's doing a great job. He's a rookie candidate. He's doing a great job running for office, and I'm trying to do whatever I can to help him. But yeah, he's doing fantastic.
All right. All right, guys, I think this is where we're going to end it for this evening. It has been a fantastic show as always. Thanks to Michael Voss. Michael Vasquez and Joe Hannoush for stopping by, and as well as everybody out there who commented. If you like the show, definitely by all means. Oh my gosh, I got one more thing I want to say. Can you guys stick around for another? This is about what we were just talking about. I want to go back to Hochul's speech. What do you guys think? What do you guys think that she got that news story from a staffer that she trusts? And you know how it is with politicians. Like they get to say this at the church this afternoon. She didn't bother to verify it because she trusted the staffer, not knowing that the story was erroneous. Do you think that's the one about Hochul and lining up all the black and brown on one side, the one that we just So like a staffer said, here's what he's talking about, gave it to her, and she just went with it, you know, because she trusted it. Oh, okay. So because she trusted the staffer. So Joe, go first before you disappear from our screen.
I could barely hear you, and the sounds out here.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
can't hear you. Sorry.
We lost Joe. He's dying. Okay. So what do you think, Joe? Thanks for coming on by. I'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you all.
Yeah. All right, great. Have a good evening.
Yep.
So
no,
Mike,
it doesn't work. It's not a good excuse. It's a wonderful justification. I'm sure she will use it with the left.
Right.
But she was involved with press. She made press releases on this. She appeared in local news media talking about this. This is something that she has been quoting, and rather misquoting and misinforming the public about for about 3 months now. She didn't need, whether no matter what her staff may want to say to try and give her cover, she knows for a fact, because of her own actions and her own statements for months, and she knows she was lying. It's not even a question. She knows for a fact she lied materially. This isn't something that she kind of mistook or kind of, misquoted a word or two. She literally said, this is about black people. This is about racism. She said this was because of MAGA and Donald Trump, and she is a liar on every one of those things, factually, empirically, semantically, every way you want to look at it. She is a liar. And the only reason why I can imagine that she would lie to such an extent to that specific audience on that specific day is because she wants fear and she wants power, and she thinks this will get it for her.
All right.
I think she's evil.
And I'm going to end on a note that I know you're going to agree with. Let's hope she is no longer the governor and Larry Sharpe is the governor.
Yeah, that would be a good outcome. Yes.
Absolutely. Let's hope for that. I got to get Larry's name into every one of our shows.
I'm okay with that.
Definitely do that. And I'm going to get your show in the show notes, the show that you spoke about, Hochul, in my show notes. So if people want to see it, if people want to see it, just go to No Soundbites Allowed. But I will also put it in my show notes before this evening is through. Thanks for the time. I love Monday nights, man. This is always a great convo. You guys make me laugh. I learn stuff. And, I just take a side step here, just so folks know, like, I like to be the presenter here. So like a lot of times, like, when Mike says he's got a story, Joe, like I just want to present it and have them talk about it, and we can all learn together. It's kind of like an old school host. I know they still do that in Europe a little bit. I'm not coming on here being a demagogue. That's not my deal. My deal is to bring other people's voices and opinions here, whether it's this evening with the libertarian and a conservative. A couple of nights from now, we're going to have a Democrat on. And I say this all the time, but hopefully we'll have a Democrat on the show as well. But that's the whole idea here. I'm not like Sean Hannity or Rachel Maddow trying to tell you what you should think. I'm here bringing people on so we could all learn together. And you and Joe Hannoush should do a fantastic job with that. And so thanks for being here. And thanks for all of you out there, because I don't know where in the world you are or what time it is in your neck of the woods. But no matter the time, I hope you had a good time. This time, until next time, we will see you